2. All right, we starting. Listen, emergency group chat, load management podcast, man. Like, what we've been seeing today. Today is August 26th, on the 4-year anniversary of the first day that Colin Kaepernick sat for the national anthem. We have seen something that we have never seen in sports. The NBA, starting with them guys from the Milwaukee Bucks, led by George Hill and Sterling Brown, decided to boycott their first round Game 5 playoff game versus the Orlando Magic, and the rest of the teams that were supposed to be playing tonight followed suit. The Houston Rockets, OKC Thunder, Lakers, and Portland Trailblazers. Now the MLS has, they boycotted all their games, Major League Soccer. 3 MLB games have been boycotted, and a tennis pro, I can't pronounce her name, so I want to butcher it, but she's half black, half Asian. She decided to also not participate in her semifinal match.
What's that, YBN's girl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So, you know what I'm saying? She's really putting it on the line, and of course, the ladies at the WNBA, they're always giving it up. They have also stood in solidarity with the NBA and decided not to participate this evening. Fellas, this is a historic, monumental day in the sports landscape. I was talking to my father today, and he said that the closest thing he's ever seen to this is when the NBA All-Stars almost boycotted because they wanted to create a players' union. And so they were at halftime of the All-Star game, and Bob Cousy, Bill Russell, and Elgin Baylor led a boycott to say, we're not going to come out and play until you guys allow us to create an NBA Players Union. And through that, the NBA Players Union was born. A little bit of history. Fellas, we are living in history. 2020 is crazy. Nothing's off the table. Shiz, I'm going to start with you.
Whoa.
Why can't I start
with me? We got a special guest tonight.
Oh, my bad.
Proper introduction.
My bad.
We had to call the big guns on this topic, and I feel like it's only right.
My bad, Zine. Hold up, Abe. Listen, first of all, we have a Rhode Island / Fall River Men's League legend. We have a guy that not only will play in the men's league, but rep the same men's league, and he ain't giving you no fouls. Shout out to my guy, Avery O, man, a straight-up legend, D1 hooper. You know what I'm saying? He's on your face.
Don't limit me to men's league, because then it seems like that's all I have.
Oh, my bad.
There's a lot of guys that play men's league that never played past JV. I don't want to be one of those.
I said B1. I said B1. Damn. Wise finest, man. I know the vibes.
No, I love men's league though.
Just messing with you, man. Nah, yo, we're so happy to have you on, man. Real OG. So yeah, my bad, Zine. Poor hospitality. You know what I'm saying? That's that's the Hassan Whiteside. So Ave, man, weigh in.
Man, I'm telling you like this, and I'm gonna be real with you and not sit like I watch all the podcasts. I pick and choose topics. I'm glad that you break it up that way, because I never can watch one in its entirety. So then, like, the chance to come on and chop it up with y'all, I definitely appreciate it, because all 3 of y'all I respect. And 4 of y'all too. Congratulations to Bobby on the newborn. I'm not a seat filler. No one can replace Bobby Perry's shoes. He's one of one. I'm glad y'all let me come on and talk about what's going on right now on the court and off the court, because like you said, there's some crazy times, especially today. Like, not just the times of the whole COVID and 2020, but what's going on today is like pretty amazing, to be real with you.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just to kind of kick it off, man, it's just like, it was unfortunate what happened to Jacob. Fortunately, he's still living. Yes. But, from what I've heard from reports and news, that he's kind of paralyzed from the waist down. So that's always sad. Like, imagine you're kind of being up and down with your kids. You have a way you live in life. Like, you know, we all do, like we ref, men's league, go to work. And then one day that's just like, you know, taken from you. And it's to kind of give like, you know, backstory on it. He was actually breaking up a fight and doing the right thing. When the police came, he walked away. And then, like, you know, a police officer, supposedly what I've been hearing, I don't know how true it is, he had a specific, like, you know, background that the police were aware of. And that what kind of led to them, like, you know, demanding that he stopped. And then when he didn't listen, like, you know, like I don't know if Avery heard this on the podcast before, but one thing we kind of always brought up with a lot of, like, you know, white police officers that, like, you know, police in urban communities, the reason, my assumption as to why, like, you know, a lot of these murders and, like, you know, beatings happen is because a lot of these white officers come to urban communities and they're afraid of minorities. Like, you know, they have their perception. Like, for instance, if you grow up in Lexington, Massachusetts, you have this perception built in you about Roxbury. And it's like, when you're scared, you do stuff out of fear. And I think that's why certain situations like, you know, handled the way in which they are, because there has been footage of, like, you know, videos been circulating today on Instagram of, like, you know, cases where white people have, like, you know, charged that police with knives and, like, you know, fought the police and, like, even taken out guns, and it hasn't been handled as far as that white person ended up dead. It's been, like, de-escalated, like trying to talk them down, whereas that's a black man. We seen what's happened with, like, you know, George Floyd. We seen what happened in Milwaukee, Breonna Taylor, the list goes on and on. So it's just, like, unfortunate to see. And the main reason why, which brings us here today to talk about this, is what we saw the Milwaukee Bucks start off with boycotting a playoff game. I think it was game 6, deciding to not take the floor. So we just kind of want to get everybody, I could throw it over to Zeem just to kind of get his, like, you know, thoughts on that boycott. Like, you know, what's going on? Is it just something to do? Was it powerful? Like, what are you thinking?
Appreciate it. Avery, once again, thank you for joining us. I know in our entertaining group chat in regards to FanDuel, there was a lot of mixed emotions, a lot of comments, a lot of, you know, I didn't know serious or not serious. So this is why I called for the emergency podcast, and we always do this when breaking news. I just respect what the Milwaukee Bucks did. It takes a lot of courage to do that. It takes a lot of bravery. It takes a lot of thought process. And at the end of the day, you got to draw the line in the sand and pick a side and stand there. And I'm always doing my research and making sure that I'm standing on the right side. And what the right side is, yeah, them just not playing one game is not going to change tomorrow. It's not going to change the next day. It gradually has to happen. And we had so many legends that passed away and died on this, you know, figuratively speaking, cross in regards to getting us equal rights and getting us the justice that we need. And at the end of the day, when we scream out Black Lives Matter, we're not screaming that we're better than white lives or Hispanic lives or Asian lives. We just want equality. We just want fair justice. And what, you know, Shiz brought up is true. And I've been posting it. And I've been obviously using my social media platform, trying to be careful because of my profession. But at the end of the day, I'm just sick and tired of it. And I just got to speak on it. And I think the debate was like, is it sincerely a boycott if they return tomorrow or Saturday to play or whatever the case may be? Is it genuine? Is it sincere? And my thing is, you got to start somewhere. You know what I mean? And even that little thing was breaking news everywhere. Fox News, CNN, FS1, ESPN, Yahoo Sports. To me, getting that notoriety, sparking that conversation up again is something that we needed to do. And then this is why I generally wanted Avery to come on there and give us his thoughts on, or just clarification on his thought process in regards to what the Milwaukee Bucks did, the rest of the NBA teams, and the other sports as well in regards to that.
Yeah, I like what they did, but I'll be the first to tell you, and this is like everything we say is opinion based. This is my opinion. If they play on Saturday, like I'm looking at the NBA TV right now, and it's saying all 3 playoff games are postponed today. I don't like the boycott word being thrown around because boycott can go on for a long time. Postpone mean, oh, we're not playing today, but Wednesday's games will be played Saturday. Thursday, they're going to boycott too because they did it Wednesday. Those games will be Sunday. I want to see LeBron James leaving the bubble. I want to see the Greek Freak packing his bags. I respect what they did, but it's not a boycott by definition. You know what I mean? So
I definitely hear you.
My first initial reaction was like, when I seen Orlando didn't accept the forfeit and they said the game's postponed, my first thing was fake news. It's big news, but it's fake news because I said, if you really want to shake the room, the bubble's done. You put all that money into it. You did. It's working. It's going right. Shut down in the middle of the playoffs and really make some news. Because you boycott the NBA after what they went through to get it up and running, a boycott would be not playing the rest of the playoffs. There's no champion this year. It was boycotted. Nobody gets nothing. We're all going home to our families, and we're going to continue to boycott. And then we're going to join these protests. No, that's what I want to see. I want to see a big name. Even if they don't all leave, I like to see a big name leave, and then that's putting your money where your mouth is.
And that, just to kind of piggyback on that, and that's kind of, well, I'm not going to say it was like, I respect 100% what they did. And first and foremost, like whenever something happens, we put the responsibility on like, athletes, entertainers to like be the voice of reason. And I don't think that's always their job to do that. Like it's a plus that they're using their platform to like, speak on certain stuff and do certain stuff. But I feel like we automatically put the pressure on them, and the real people who's supposed to get the heat of all this, like, the councilmen, like, the senators, the mayors, the governors, the people that help make the laws, they kind of like escape and like get away scotch-free. But then they're the first ones that'll tweet and like, comment on like how a specific athlete may be handling something. So it's like, and I do agree with you for some points, because if we kind of go back a few months when we were going back if the NBA was even going to happen, I remember Kyrie Irving caught a lot of flack. Like people were calling him crazy. They were calling him like, what is this guy talking about? Like, why would anybody listen to Kyrie?
It's to do it.
Back full circle now, what he was actually talking about. They even went as far as to like, make rumors up that because he wasn't allowed to go, he didn't want an NBA now, or because he didn't have an opportunity to compete or win a championship, he wants to take it away from somebody else, which was like, in my opinion, complete nonsense. But I mean, something has to be done. And like, we always on this chat, like in our chat, we always talk about like, Adam Silver, he's doing such a great job, and respect to Adam Silver. And he is, but sometimes I don't say it a lot, but sometimes I get so annoyed with that, because like, yes, I appreciate Adam Silver for everything he did for the NBA, and like, giving them the platform to be able to like, wear whatever they want to wear in the back of their jerseys, like, to speak on certain things, gave them the most safest environment to talk. But at the end of the day, there's some truth to it. Like, yeah, I'm starting to question myself, like, was that really the correct decision for them to go play? Because at the end of the day, we talked about if they don't play, they were losing out on X, Y, and Z amount of money. But I can't think of anything in this life where this ever came to like, a black person fighting for something where you could have your cake and eat it too. Like, if you want to make a big impact, you got to give up something. And I'm not going to put that on them to be like, all right, you got to do it, because that's not their responsibility. At the end of the day, their responsibility is to take care of their family and play basketball. Anything else they do is a bonus. But if you are going to do it, I feel as though sometimes you have to do both. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, list goes on, you name it. They made certain sacrifices in their lives in order to help get a message across. And just to kind of piggyback on Chris Webber, he said something, I know everybody always hates on Chris Webber's commentary, but he said something that was pretty dope today. Like,
He did, Doc.
It may not change, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure when Martin Luther King or Malcolm X was speaking, everybody was like, what is he talking about? Like, nothing's going to change. They're still going to treat us the same. We fast forward a few years, things got a little bit better. We're not where we want to be yet, but if we do our part as, like, you know, a black people to, like, you know, and especially the black people we have, like, on higher platforms, if they keep doing their part, even though we may not see a change, and maybe next year there may be another killing due to a white person, a white police officer killing another black human being, at the end of the day, what he said, which kind of hit home for me, is even though he may not make the change for us, we may make the change for another generation. And I think that's why, even if we don't see the results now, we still have to keep constantly trying to do the work.
So I'll just chime in real quick. So at the end of the day, we talk about a boycott, is it a postponement? I think that it's, at the very least, even if it's not a boycott, that they've gotten everyone's attention. You know what I'm saying? And that's why Sean, me and you went back and forth about the Kyrie Irving thing, and I have my feelings about it, you have your feelings about it. But I think that it was good for them to come and play for this reason, because they have money, but this platform that they have of sports is their way to get their message out. And I'm not talking about a Black Lives Matter on the court. I'm not talking about equality on the jersey. Like, that to me is like cool, but nothing really too crazy. By them being able to have games and be able to make the conscious decision, like, yo, you know, like, we're upset. We're the Milwaukee Bucks. We're from this state, and we want to sit this game out because we're angry and upset. Everything doesn't have to be this political statement or we're doing it for XYZ reasons. These are, the league is 80% black, majority black men, you know what I'm saying? And these black men say, yo, we're not in the right headspace to play tonight or tomorrow. And me, whether I think it's right, wrong, which I do think that is right, I think that, yo, it's their league, it's their platform, and they have the right to do as they feel. That's the first thing I want to say. Second thing is, like, the thing that is unfair, and Sean touched on it a little bit, is that a lot of these guys, even though, like, they're men and they look, you know, they're still very young. And it's a lot of pressure that they're under. And the fact that they found it in themselves to take this first step, to me, is important, because think about yourself when you was 22, when you was 23, when you was 24, when you was 25, and think about how much pressure is on these dudes, fairly or unfairly, because yes, we want them to speak up and be conscious of social issues and donate and give money. But now that they're saying, like, yo, we do not feel comfortable playing, we have to understand that we have to listen to them too, and understand that a lot of these guys are kids and still very young and making very important decisions. So I want to give them that respect. And then lastly, I'm gonna say the thing that I want to stay away from on social media or what I'm watching on TV, what I listen to on a podcast, if I'm interacting with someone that I know, I don't want to talk to anyone that isn't talking about this from a good place. Like, if you don't watch the NBA, or you are against Cap, or you think that players should shut up and dribble, or you are a Trump supporter and you don't think that the players should be doing this, they should just play and not, and, you know, be seen and not heard. Like all the Jason Whitlocks, the Clay Travises, the Will King, the Tucker Carlson, all those people, and people that share that same sentiment, I'm not even going to engage with you, because I think that you're just coming from, like, the wrong place. You don't care about the NBA. You don't care about these players, and you don't care about black people in general. The last thing I'll say, to bring your Martin Luther King point up, when Martin Luther King died, he had a very low approval rating among white people and even amongst black people. You know what I'm saying? So the crazy thing is, not saying that Cap is MLK, because he's not even in that same breath, but if you look at how villainized Cap was in 2016, and you already start to see the kind of all that kind of being washed away, and before you know it, people are going to be looking at him as such a sympathetic, great figure as we go through history. So now this is us being able to witness how white people and even some conservative black people thought about MLK, vilified him. The guy dies a martyr, and now over the course of time, he's the first go-to that a white person will say, well, we should just all be judged by the content of our character. So that's just a real life real-time case study that I'm watching and really enjoying.
So yeah, Avery, I want to let you, you're the guest of the show. I want you to respond to Shiz and Jiggy's sentiments in regards to how the NBA handled, the postponement, boycott, whatever the case may be. Because I think my disagreement with you is you're saying it's not enough, or it's false or fake, rhetoric if they're going to come back and play. And the only way you find it to be sincere is if one of them leaves the bubble. If you leave the bubble, what does leaving the bubble do to make it more sincere to you versus being in the bubble?
My thing is, what Professor was saying about some of the guys being young and a lot of pressure on them, that'll let you know it's a group decision for the whole league. I feel like the older guys and the bigger names, they can afford to miss the whole season. They can afford to not get the playoff checks, you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure there's some guys that wanted to play. You know what I mean? So my thing with leaving is like, I don't know how I feel personally about just the games being postponed, because I feel like, yeah, it is news and it got everyone's attention, but what's next? And that's what they're doing tonight with the meeting tonight. You know what I mean? So there's more to come out of this, but the first thing that came to mind with me is like, yeah, it's powerful and people are getting noticed, but I would like to see what this really is going to do for the problem. You know what I mean? Because I'll be real with you, Colin Kaepernick, Kyrie Irving, whenever you say something against the norm, you're automatically crucified and crazy.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So Kyrie said that back then, and now look where we are today. And my thing is like, it's a lot going on. And there were guys who said they don't feel like they should be playing in the bubble because of what's going on in the world. And at the end of the day, some of them ended up coming. So that means they were maybe pressured into playing.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if they, as a league, everybody gets together and has a game plan. So if you're the leader, if you're Chris Paul, the leader of the Players Association, you're a LeBron James, you're these big guys, right, with the money off the court that can be like, hey, listen, I can help with our situation. And they all can do it if the top dogs come together and say, hey, we got to look out for the little guys. You know what I mean? Because there's guys that are going to want to play for monetary reasons. And that's just the truth of it.
Yeah.
So sorry to cut you off, Shiz. And I hear you. And this is why me personally, leaving the bubble will be a detriment to what they're trying to do. And this is my issue when the Kyrie first, proposed this thought process of not even going. If you're home doing your own thing, whatever the case may be, you have your little social media following and you can promote to them. But in this bubble, you have all media outlets. Like every single time interview, not until, we arrest the cops for Breonna Taylor. LeBron James' fashion statement was notarized. The people's sneakers, everything that, it just kept repeating. Even how we looked at Doc's conversation yesterday, CP3 after game, post game thoughts on it. This is the eyes that we need. And if it wasn't for this NBA bubble, we will not see that. If it wasn't for this NBA bubble, this Jacob Blake would have happened. I'm sure the people that marched when the George Floyd will show up in Kenosha, Wisconsin with those people, but it won't get the notoriety that it is right now that the bubble and the NBA and that media platform is producing. I am a strong believer that you can chew and walk at the same time. You could play basketball and still be LeBron James, who's putting over tens of millions of dollars into this whole voting initiative that he's doing and getting arenas and getting facilities to make sure that happens in November. And so that's what I don't want to lose focus and not minimize what they did. I definitely understand, like, yeah, leaving the bubble, now that's real cash talk shit right there. But small steps. And then also speaking on the little guys, not for nothing, them going to the bubble is something that they're doing to help these younger players in the future. because obviously I'm not expertise about the collective bargaining agreement and the TV deals and et cetera, but I know the NBA players would have took a major hit. And my biggest thing is, you know, especially me as African American, I contemplate, should I even go to work? Should I even post? Should I even do X, Y, and Z? And they're doing this on the biggest platform. And that's why even in my little small pocket, I have a lot of respect. But I get your aspect of the boycott and the postpone, because when Rosa Parks did it, African Americans boycotted the public transportation for quite some time and the duration of a time.
18 months.
18 months. So I get that thought process of it, Avery, and I don't want to say that you're wrong in thinking that way, but my biggest thing is we just can't leap and jump off the cliff not knowing what's at the bottom of that cliff. And it's easy for us to do that while we're sitting at home and in our chats, whatever. But when you're in the moment, when this is your profession, you just got to get your ducks in a row. And then shout out to the Milwaukee Bucks, because they didn't come out to that game because they was on a conference call with the lieutenant governor of Wisconsin and also the attorney general of Wisconsin. So they're putting cash shit behind of what they're saying, if you get what I'm trying to say, Doc.
Yeah, no, I hear you. But I think, and aside from that, like, everybody keeps saying, like, don't take action without a plan. But sometimes it's not about that. Like, sometimes you just gotta do. You know what I'm saying? And I think the Bucks, I genuinely believe, this is my opinion, not something I read somewhere, but I genuinely believe the Bucks didn't let the Magic know because it just wasn't the right place. And all of us has been on teams here. If one teammate, if you're unified and you're a great team, one person is not feeling a certain type of way and you respect them, you're going to ride with that. And I don't know if you guys heard about Sterling Brown, but I think it was like a couple months ago, he was illegally parked and he got beat and tased by the police.
Yep.
Like, some of us could have
Sterling Brown from the Bucks.
Yeah, Sterling Brown.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So that's why I kind of like figured, like, you know, that hit home from him. That's why him and George Hill, I don't know if you guys had a chance to hear their speech that him and George
I saw it.
in the bubble. It's like, that's why they're talking. So it's like, damn, like, this is happening. And he's from Milwaukee. You know what I'm saying? So it's even closer for him. So I don't think they were in that right state of mind. And then once Milwaukee did it, it kind of like trickled down. And we can't listen to we got to listen to the players talk, like the NBA, because they're going to want to protect their ass. Like, they're going to always say, like, you know, it's postponed to a later date. And then we learned more information after, like, all right, the players is deciding. And from what I'm reading, what I'm seeing, half is like, yo, we're already here. Let's finish what we started. And the other half is like, all right, I don't think we should play right now. So it's not a easy decision to make. It's not an easy, like, you know, thing to deal with. And I think that's the best thing they're doing right now is just coming together collectively. In the NBA, we forget, like, it's not like the NFL. It's not like baseball. It's under 400 people there. That's under 374, I think, in total. That's 374 people going up against the world. All eyes are on them. Like, any decision they make, they're going to get critiqued. They're going to get judged. They're going to get told they should have done this. They should have done that. And that's tough. That's not a lot of people, you know? So that's just – so I think it's just now it's just kind of going through the motions, like letting – no one – I don't think, like, Avery, you and Josh are the oldest. And correct me if I'm wrong. No sneak this. But you guys have never seen nothing like how we're seeing now. Like, I was talking to my boss. She's like, yeah, she's obviously older. And she was like, I've never seen anything like this in my life, what's happened in the year 2020.
Well, I'll say this. I think that the difference in leagues is going to be so interesting to watch. I'm setting the NHL aside because we already know what time it is over there. MLB has the strongest player union, so they have a lot of leverage in what they do. The NBA union is not quite as strong as that, but the thing that they do have is that you have a handful of players like Avery was talking about, like a Braun, like a CP3, a Greek Freak, and all these other superstar $100 million, $200 billion athletes that control so much of the NBA. And then you have the NFL. So we know that if the NFL staged a walkout and guys boycotted, the NFL will do what they do when they went in strike on I think it was 87 to 88, where they just got scab players and replacement players, because they don't really build up the superstars in that league. It's more about the shield and the jersey and the team and all that. So I think that the thing that's dope for the NBA players is that they're the ones that sparked all this. So, you know what I'm saying?
Who?
The NBA players.
Oh, my fault. They said NFL.
Yeah.
Because they left Colin Kaepernick out to dry.
Yeah.
Now they say they would have listened.
Yeah.
But that's the difference, though.
They wish they would have listened to Colin Kaepernick back then.
But that's what I'm trying to say, though, Abe, and that goes back to your point. Like, you know what I'm saying? The NFL dudes their stars, for the most part, or the popular players don't make the money a LeBron or Harden make. So it's tougher, you know what I'm saying, to kind of say, when that check.
If you feel so strongly about it, like Colin Kaepernick did, you're willing to lose everything.
Exactly.
But the thing about it is, we got to give Cap that credit, but he also evolved, and then Colin Kaepernick was also shoved out. Let's not forget that. Like, he didn't make the conscious decision like, yo, I'm just not going to play in the league no more. They did him crazy dirty and pushed him out the league. You know what I'm saying? And that's a black stain that the NFL has to wear. Now, when Shiz was talking about
you go frozen? If everyone else?
I'm frozen.
Professor froze out.
Yeah, you froze it out. But not for nothing, just to carry it on. Oh, sorry, Josh, you froze for like a minute.
Damn. So all I'm saying is, like, my logical point is, I think that Adam Silver does the best job he can to try to engage them, but understand that he does a good job, but at the end of the day, his job is to work for the owners. He's basically the human representation of the 30 owners. So what I would like to see, and we can start spinning this conversation forward, I don't want to see these guys leave the bubble. I love the NBA. Selfishly, I want them, but I understand that it's not my decision. It's not my platform. And if they don't feel like playing, then they should bounce. You know what I'm saying? But the one thing I want to ask you guys is, so what do you think the NBA could ask the owners for that would get them to come back? Because if you remember, when we had this initial conversation, I likened it to the coronavirus and the schools closing. So I spoke to a parent, and I'll never forget this. She said to me, if you're closing the school, you're going to have to give me a very good reason of why I should bring my kid back into the school. So if the players want to boycott and they're adamant about it, the owners have to give them a very good, tangible reason to want to get back out there and play basketball, I think.
Yeah, that's a fact. So I forget who was saying that. I think it might have been somebody on TNT or ESPN. But when Perk said it, I think. So he's like, yeah, when you don't show you that fraud, when you don't show up, and it's like that owner's calling you like, what's going on? That's when you have the leverage to put the pressure on the owner. Like, yo, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. Like, maybe open the arena up for, like, voting. Maybe reach out to, like, this politician. Because these guys is billionaires. Like, and let's be real, America's run on money. You know what I'm saying? So they have certain pull and, like, who gets in the office, who does what, you know what I'm saying? So maybe kind of using the leverage to do that, or partnering, like, maybe the owner, Jeannie Buss, could partner with LeBron or something with the I Promise school that'll help, like, minorities or people that are actually in need. So I just think they just have to be strategic and, like, use it to their advantage.
All right, so Avery, you're LeBron James. Media comes to you tonight
See that
and says, what's on your mind, LeBron? What do you think LeBron or Greek Freak or Kawhi Leonard, as a star athlete, what do you think that should be the next step?
Ron James or Avery James?
Avery James.
Me personally, you have to say the right thing when the microphones are in front of you. And like you said earlier about using your social media as your platform, I don't speak on things on social media that are, like, very current, because it's all opinion based. And if I don't like your opinion, I'm gonna say something bad to you. So I don't speak on things. But me personally, my friends that are close to me know that when the NBA came back and there was Black Lives Matter on the court and all these things on the back of the jerseys, I said it was cute, but it doesn't change nothing, because the people that have the power are not watching these games. me and you are watching the games. We get it. We like it. But I'm like, okay, Black Lives Matter on the court. I think it's hard to gauge like what effect it's gonna have on the actual problem. So it's like, yeah, we got some leverage. Oh, we can put equality on the back of our shirt. They wouldn't even let Jimmy Butler put nothing on the back of his shirt.
So it's still controlled.
Yeah. It's still like, we'll do this for you, but you got to do this. It's not, I'm doing what I want, what I feel is right. And, you know, if you don't have nothing on the back of your shirt, LeBron caught flack for not putting nothing on his shirt because whatever his reason was. But when the media comes to you, they're always going to say what is right. And I feel like a lot of their stuff is scripted. The guys who talk from the heart are the guys who are no longer in the NBA. You got to listen to a Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes, Allen Iverson. Like, these guys are outspoken because they cannot get a Charles Barkley. You know what I mean? They can say what they really feel. I don't feel that anybody that's been interviewed has really said their genuine thoughts. A lot of it, and I'll be the bad guy. I feel like a lot of it's scripted. You know what I mean?
PR, yeah.
I could kind of see what you're saying there. So I'm 50-50 there. So, and that was my whole issue about what was going to go on in the NBA. But with obviously, like, I'm a basketball fan. I love basketball like everybody else. Selfishly, I wanted to see hoops. You know what I'm saying? We had the most fun we've had in a long time with FanDuel, betting, just talking about the game and everything else, arguing about Lakers, Clippers, the most fun we've had in months. But
was that the distraction that Kyrie was talking about?
Yeah, so I just knew that it was gonna be tough because not for nothing, where we were before the season came back with the protests and everything else. But when the NBA started, yes, it's nice to, like, you know, bring awareness and post it on your story and say, oh, so-and-so said this and that. It's like, I love that, and I feel like we need that. But I feel like where we were at before the NBA started, it kind of took a dive.
Can I push back on that? I'm gonna say two things. I don't think it really slowed down that much in terms of the actual protests. That's one. I think that what happened was even before the NBA started, I was watching this, I noticed that the attention was starting to shift more towards like the election, Joe Biden, Donald Trump. And also what I will agree with you on that is I think that some of the media attention went away. Well, excuse me, I think a lot of the media attention went away from the protests that were happening. But if you look at your timeline on Twitter and Instagram, there was protests going on.
No, so I'm not saying there's not protests, but what I'm trying to say is obviously there was still protests going on, but the difference was these guys are here playing basketball. Now we're not us specifically, but the general public isn't as interested anymore because you're not seeing Russell Westbrook out there anymore. You're not seeing Donovan Mitchell out there anymore. You know what I'm saying? So the media is just going to follow whatever's popular at the moment. And that shifted in the popularity of it and the coverage of it was, if you didn't do your research, Josh, before the NBA, the protest started, when would the last protest be if you didn't look at it?
That's why I was so appreciative of what happened today. So I understand it was something minor. I understand it's like, all right, we're just going to postpone it to the next day. But no. America, let's reel you back in. You want your little bets. You want your little FanDuels. You want, us little basketball players to shut up and dribble. We're back now.
And that's what the Bucks said. The Bucks said specifically, George Hill said, as basketball players, and Josh and Abe, you always know this. Every coach always tells you when you play basketball, Zim, I don't know if they told you this at Hope, but you're representing the name and the school you represent. And that's what they said. They said we're expected to be held to a certain standard. Our law officers aren't being held to that standard, and we didn't think it's right to go to work today with all that going on.
So hold on, wait. But I wanna hand it back to Abe, but I wanna ask this question. So let's say the players decide tonight, F it, we'll leave in the bubble, and we're not gonna play until we get XYZ, right? So let's start spinning this conversation forward. One, I wanna ask, at what point do the players then say, all right, we want to come back and play? Is it next season? Do they say, yeah, we're boycotting into next season until we get X, Y, Z? And also my thing is that I you know, we talk about voting a lot, especially me and Z be going at it about voting. And my thing is like, I think that sometimes Black people get left behind because we don't have the capital and resources to really fund these candidates, right? So they'll come pay us lip service, and then when backroom deals get done or it's time to vote on stuff, they're gonna vote with the people that supported them financially. For me, this is just me. This is just stuff I've been thinking about a lot. I would love to see the NBA players and the NBA owners come together and say, we're going to start a super PAC. You know what I'm saying? That funds politicians and candidates. And the Players Association says, yo, we're going to pledge $250 million. We want the owners to double that. And then the next year, we're going to pledge $250 million. We want the owners to double that. Because I think that through that and through the players showing their visibility and being at protests or just talking at press conferences or being on social media and being active, I think through the performative measures and through the actual financial resources that they can start to get at some of the things that we all want to see happen politically that can create real change locally and nationally.
Well, you know, they said recently that the NBA was thinking about pushing back the restart date because December 1st would have been too soon with the season supposed to end in October, the finals. So if they was to leave the bubble now and say they weren't coming back, they still don't have a date yet. But the thing I like about December is after the election. So you can't, as an NBA owner or people that are backing this, wave the carrot in front of my face and say, we're going to do this, this, and this if you do this. I feel, what I would not say feel, what I would like to see, and it's a bad thing and a good thing at the same time, is every NBA arena opened up for voters, but that doesn't help Alabama, who doesn't have a pro team. You know what I mean? So how do you reach those places where the voting isn't there for everybody? You know what I mean? So yeah, I forget off the top of my head how many NBA teams there are, but that helps those towns and those local areas. But what about the places where there isn't an NBA team?
Well, LeBron just did say that he's given like millions and millions of dollars to help with that issue of making sure people are able to vote. You know,
LeBron, the player. I'm talking about the owners. These owners gotta match LeBron. I would like to see them match LeBron and make it available for the towns that don't. You know what I mean? Some people can't get to the voting station. Now they're doing all this mail stuff and everything that's going on. And it's like, man, and I got to do my research because I'll be real with you. I ain't voted since Obama. But this year, I'm going to vote because all the stuff that's going on. I can't tell people to vote and I'm not voting. I got to do my absentee ballot because I'm still a Massachusetts resident by law. So, like, with all the stuff going on, I'd be a hypocrite to not vote myself. And my mindset in the past was I'm voting for Obama because he's Black. Then it was I'm not voting because it doesn't come down to one vote. So I've changed my mindset going forward, you know, and like I feel like I really have to.
Yeah. And
I respect that. Definitely respect that.
that's definitely a good outlook on it. Freaking yeah.
My thought with it overall is, I think, and Abe, I know you came from a good place, and I'm not talking about you specifically. Obviously, I read the comments, and I just can't help myself, you know, with the ignorant people. If you don't like it here, go back to your country. Or it's easy for you to say, Doc, you live in a $30 million whatever. What harm, and how do you not feel safe? And they just don't get it, and they don't want to get it. And then when I just hear, like, what does it really mean? It just feels like people would say, like, what are you protesting for? Why did you go to Providence downtown? What did that really do? Like, you know what I mean? It's just like they will never get it or understand or align that thought process of we just have to stop from somewhere. And don't let the negativity or the people that's trying to discourage you from doing something in your own little world or your own little pocket discouraging you. Because not doing anything just can't be the answer. You know what I mean? Looking at it on your timeline or your algorithm just can't be the answer. Reposting just can't be the answer. So you got to do something. And as long as we're all doing something, it's like, I don't know, man. Like I said, man, being Black It's beautiful. I'm proud to be black, but it's exhausting. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, like, I wake up, I got to make sure, like, damn, I got to talk a certain way. I got to act a certain way. I got to dress a certain way. And this, I spoke on a podcast a long time ago. I told you, I'm showing off my tattoos. I'm wearing my, like, I'm going to be me. And we have to stop living in a country where we could just feel comfortable. And the Kenny the Jet, Smith said something so profound yesterday, and I was dying, but I'm like, that's one of the realest-ish ever. He said he was with his white friend, and his white friend said, I'll admit, when I see somebody put a hoodie on, I may cross the street. And then Kenny the Jet, like, why? Why can't it just be like, oh, he has his hoodie up because he's cold. It's actually cold outside. You know what I mean? It's not have to be an automatic mugging or whatever the case may be. And we just got to change the perception of what's going on, man. But not for nothing, I am just astounded by everything that's happened in 2020 and everything that we're dealing with COVID, the quarantine, Kobe, just everything that's just been transpiring. It's just exhausting. And honestly, it's just like, sometimes it's just like, I felt what Doc meant was just like, man, we love this country. Why does this country don't love us? Because not for nothing, I don't give a damn. I don't want to live in no Africa, no England, no Australia, no China, no. I love America. But why does America have issues with people who look just like me? You know what I mean? And that's the type of steez I am moving forward. Accept me for who I am. I'm going to treat you with respect. You treat me with respect. And it just needs to be that way. And this whole shut up and dribble movement, I ain't with it. I'm happy tennis, soccer, baseball, all join. I want the same effing energy for all that, man. So Black Lives Matter until it matters. You know what I mean?
That's huge.
A conversation I had with like Bobby, Jamal, Frank, like my closest friends, and this goes for y'all too. So it's not like a boo-hoo sad story. Like, a lot of us came from the hood, but went to college. That gives you the resources to interact with other people.
Speak on it. Speak on it.
In college, like, Caucasians in college don't get that experience in the hood. You know what I mean? When you go to the hood, from the hood to college, and you're on campus with all these people and you're rubbing elbows with, like, it's like, yo, this is culture shock. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and then you can adapt to any atmosphere because, I'm comfortable here, like with little Charlie or Steven, you know what I'm saying? Now you bring Steven around Ahmad, oh, he's nervous.
Yeah.
So it's like, you not saying you play in both sides, but like, you can interact with others. They don't do that. They only have their token African-American friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yo, Doc, before you chime in, what I want to say is, I always say this to people when I talk about race. The person I went to for my bank loan, for my house, car, white. People that I work for, white. Anything that my doctor, white. It feels like anything, like, yo, we are forced to interact with white people no matter what. If we want to make it to a certain level, unless you live like in Houston or PG County or DC, something like that, Oakland, where, it's predominantly black. So we're forced to interact, whereas a white person isn't forced to interact with black people. And that was a really good point you brought up, Abe. And the fact that you don't interact with us, you make your assumptions based off what you see on TV or what you heard or what you're taught. And you don't get the experience to say, yo, we're human too. We're people, just like you guys. We have the same American dream. We want the house, the 2.5 kids, a wife, a nice car, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? And to live life comfortably. Sorry, Doc, I mean to jump in.
No, it's all good. Good point. All of y'all good points. But and it's the same. Just to like with Avery, like I just feel like it's tough, man. As a black man, and I just feel like white people, I don't know if they can't understand because they're not black or they're just refusing to. Like, I was in New Hampshire this past weekend, and Hampton, New Hampshire, and it was just, I love barbecue, and I just saw this barbecue spot. And then, but the thing is, they had the Trump sign. Like, everybody out there was white. So I was like, damn, like I can't even feel comfortable walking in to get some ribs or something. I got to go to the McDonald's drive-thru. Like, that's just crazy that I don't feel comfortable to go do it. And it's just like, and that's why, like, I kind of, to allude to your point, Josh, that's why in the last podcast, I kind of brought it up. Like, I hate when minorities, like, wouldn't say hate, but I dislike when minorities, like, push other minorities from going to college. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because who would you want to see as, like, your senator, as your councilman? It would be nice to see a doctor from your neighborhood being able to take care of the people in this community. So I get it, and I will never force college on everyone because it's not for everyone. But at the end of the day, it's necessary if we want to get some of our own kind in some of these positions so we could better service ourselves. And the statistics out there, health-wise, like, in schools, that white people ain't doing their due diligence to, like, blacks, we're not being taught the correct way. We're being fed the wrong history. We're not being cared for medically. Like, the numbers are kind of just off. And I just feel like it's got to change, like, and what I would want to see from, I don't want the NBA players to not make money and to lose money and to, like, boycott, protest, whatever the case may be, until stuff stops happening, because it's not going to stop happening. It may be a long time, if ever, we get, like, equal rights, But what I would like to see is them to put together something, if they are going to choose to boycott or protest, like, something that the owners can do. Like, if LeBron James goes and kneels, that doesn't have the same effect as if Dan Gilbert goes and kneels, or Mark Cuban. Trump, as much as we hate him, like, and dislike some of his ways, if he really wanted to win the election, if he really wanted to flip this thing, if Trump were to just go and kneel and say, I stand with you, if he just did it one time, that would change so much. So I think what they have to kind of do with their platform, if this is the move they want to make, is they have to put pressure, like Avery said, not on us, because it's us posting on, like, our Instagram. It's great, but it's not really moving the needle. We have to get the people that are in the specific positions that are against us right now to kind of at least say, I may not agree with everything, but I'm going to stand with you.
I can rock with that. So I'm gonna bring us back to the NBA, right? So they're right now discussing whether they want to play, whether they don't want to play. And the one thing I keep coming back to is that there's an immense amount of pressure on these men, Like, and the thing that's crazy is that, and this is what I want to kind of get us to, is that I feel like these young black men are more committed and more concerned with the plight of black people than a lot of the people who are in position of power who are supposed to be concerned with helping us and protecting us and serving us. What I mean by that is that there hasn't been any meaningful legislation in this country over the past 20 years or 30 years or 40 years since the Civil Rights Bill 1964 that has given us any tangible results of how we can move forward as a people. And I don't want all black people aren't the same. We don't all think the same. Even the four of us in this podcast right now, we all have our own way of doing things. But can the NBA players, where they leave the bubble, stay in and start playing on the weekend, is this a chance to not galvanize everybody, but galvanize enough people to say, like, look, enough is enough. We want to move forward and make some real tangible change and start some kind of not revolution, but at least a movement to make sure that we're getting protected by our legislators.
All right, so let me ask you this question back. Why is it on the athlete to create this?
I'm not saying that it's on them. And another thing that's unfair, it's a very fine line between all of us in this chat want our athletes to be conscious and give back and represent themselves well, but also not put too much pressure on them to feel like they're the ones responsible for making all this change. Because believe it or not, if the NBA was to stop tomorrow, me and Dot will be watching Moesha on Netflix. We'll find other ways to kind of entertain ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And that's why, like, I'm so, like, when me and Dot was going back and forth hard about whether they should come to the bubble, I'm like, yo, I just don't want them to lose the platform because, you know what I'm saying, this industry, the basketball industry, does so much for black people, even though we don't want to get pigeonholed as just athletes, but it does do a lot for black people, creates wealth, generational wealth for Black people. So I don't want them to lose that, but I also want them to do what they think is right.
I just feel it's going to be hard to see legislation and change because unfortunately the people that's at the top, they really don't care for us. You know what I mean? You would have to care for something in order to have the decency and the heart and to put in the efforts to change legislation to help us. So that's not going to happen. And sometimes I'm in the mindset, and this is why I be like, I don't give a damn who's at the top, who's president. I'm going to continue helping myself and the people who I care for, and who I can actually touch and affect. And obviously in the education world, I can just do that with my students and my family and, you know, the people who I interact with. So I hear what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying, but we have to get out of this mindset of if we don't do this, if this happens, et cetera, because we're not the first people to think of this and we're not going to be the last people to think of this. The only thing I noticed in 2020, especially during this COVID-19 thing is we got a lot of people's attention now. We got a lot of allies who don't look like this in a different pigmentation. So I have hope moving forward, but moving forward, I'm not expecting anybody to do for me what I have to do for myself and my family. At the end of the day, I understand what these athletes have to do as well in regards to be the voice that they need to be, but I still have a job. I eventually still have to play basketball. And if I go back to playing basketball, I can't be ridiculed and scolded of how I provide and take care of my family. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. That's their 9 to 5.
That's their 9 to 5. So that's why I was just kind of nervous of, I hope that's not the thought process as if they do come back, oh, they fake care, they really, I know that was just a joke in the chat, whatever the case may be, because at the end of the day, that's their 9 to 5. They eventually have to go back to work. I don't want this responsibility on athletes all, you know, what is it? Is it genre of sports, a category of sports, that it's on them. And if they do go back, oh, look, he really don't care. No, they did what they had to do. They got the attention. Now we need the people, the political people, to actually care and do what they need to do. Oh, you're still not listening? Okay, let me affect the bottom dollar for these owners by messing up the TV money, messing up ratings, et cetera, by doing that. And this is why I wish that fans were still in this, you know, lose all that fan money, all that concession stand money. Because right now the owners are looking like, I don't care, he was in a bubble anyway. I wasn't making no money.
Yo, that's a good point. Not to cut you off, but I do think that, and me and Doc kind of touched on this earlier when I talked about the Clippers that should have boycotted when they played Golden State in the playoffs when Donald Sterling was the racist owner.
Uh-huh.
And they threw like the jerseys at the center. So I don't want to disrespect them, but I know.
I'll be right back. I'm just getting another drink. I'll be right back. I'm listening.
It'll be a much harder decision if this was like 20,000 fans out there waiting. The owner saying like, "Yo, we got a full house. Come out and play." You know what I'm saying? And
yeah. You gotta
the bubble is more conducive to this. Not taking nothing away from them. Please don't accuse me of that. But I know that if this was Game 5, LA Lakers, they make like $5-6 million every single home game, and there would be a different kind of pressure.
Yeah, that's fact. But that's why I said earlier when we started the call, like, everything they do is a bonus. Like, we can't, that's not their job to be like, you know, the social justice heroes. Like, that's just them doing out of their goodwill or for whatever their brand is. But what I don't like, but if they are going to choose to make this decision, and I think this kind of goes back to like, you know, the strategizing part, make sure you know what you're doing and make sure you're going to get something out of it. But like I said, the people who should be feeling the heat and should be having to make the decisions, they always get away, and they're the first ones to tweet on and comment on how athletes don't know anything about it and they shouldn't be talked. Like the ex-police commissioner says LeBron should shut up. He doesn't know anything about policing. So it's like, why don't you do something, and why is all this happening, you know? So it's just, they're in a tough spot. So, and when Dwight Howard first said he agreed with Kyrie Irving, like, I'm like, damn, he can't even have an opinion because now Kendrick Perkins, here we go, saying like if he goes back to the bubble, now he doesn't sit out, he's a hypocrite. Like you're allowed to have mixed
Change your mind.
one way today, and then I may get new information and I may feel a different way tomorrow. So it's just they're really in a tough spot.
Yeah, Abe, before you jump in, so that's a good point, Dot, and that's kind of why I was like kind of against Kyrie. Not saying that like I said, he has the right to not want to go. You know what I'm saying? And that's valid. You know what I'm saying? A.V. Bradley chose not to go. A couple other guys, but what I'm saying is that these are big decisions, and because you know what I'm saying, you might wake up today and be pissed off and be like, yo, I ain't playing. I'm leaving the bubble. Then you might get home a week later and be like, damn, like I should have just done something a little bit different. And we don't want to make like permanent actions for temporary emotions. And that's why I think it's important that the players have good leadership. Like Abe was saying, the older players in the bubble, the LeBron, the CP3, Michelle Roberts, who's the MVPA president. Thank God Doc Rivers is in there talking to them too. You know what I'm saying? Someone that's been through a lot, whose father was a cop, who made that great speech last night. That was my main thing. Abe, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, look, I agree with what Zim said earlier, though. I will stand on it that I would love to see them not play, right? That's my opinion. That's me. But if they do come back and play, right, I'm not gonna not watch. I'm not boycotting them playing. I'm gonna watch. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like that's their job. They're entertainers. They're gonna entertain me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I will watch. I'm not like, I know people that have went out and said, oh, I'm not watching the NFL again because of this, that, and third. Cool, that's your decision. If they don't play, I'll be happy. Because I'm like, that's huge, I feel, to me. Them not playing today is big too. I don't want to take away from that. But like them not playing at all is really huge. And like if they do play, they do play because I'll be tuned in. Let's go Celtics.
No, I hear you, man. No, this is a great dialogue. This is something that we needed to happen, and this is why I called for this, because at the end of the day, you just need an outlet to talk, just need an outlet to disagree and agree. You need an outlet to speak your mind, and I just feel, you know, for the millions of people that's watching at home that, you know, your thoughts are not neglected, your feelings are not neglected. Use your little small pocket to do what you need to do to succeed in life. And just know at the end of the day, you got yourself. You know what I mean? Don't look for no other man to do for you. You know what I mean? Do for yourself in whatever genre or field or work that you do. Just know that if you're doing it with a pure heart, you're good. You're good money. And that's my perspective with this whole 2020 situation. And shout out Chris Webber, Doc Rivers, Kenny the Jet Smith, the Milwaukee Bucks. I will say a little tip. I'm kind of disappointed in the Greek Freak. I want to hear from him more. You're the MVP of this league.
Right.
I'm giving him a pass because he's not from America.
He couldn't talk because this is more – I feel like he didn't take the lead on this because now nothing from what we've heard, this had more of an effect on George Hill and Sterling Brown. So that's why they were the forefront of it. If you remember that.
I respect that, but still, like, you know what I mean? When you're the face and you're taking – like, I get it. I'm not going to expect it from Greek Freak and Luka Doncic and, you know, our overseas players, even though they do garnish, you know, the letterings on the back. So I'll give them a little pass. But you know what? I am a big component of actions speak louder than words, and the Milwaukee Bucks started big chess action today. So I'll give them credit.
You got to understand, too, bro, like the Greek Freak could have said, nah, I think we need to play. And that would have really caused like a big rift. But the fact that he bought in to what those other two men were leading is huge because he's the biggest guy on the team. And he's like, all right, then you two don't play. Us 12 guys will carry on. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that he's with them, stood strong behind them is important, I think.
And he's 20. At the end of the day, he's 25. Josh brought that point earlier. he's still like, you know, at 25, I wouldn't be able to talk on this how I'm talking on it now. So it's like he's still young, like you said, he's not American. So like I'm sure where he's from, they have their issues over there. But I feel like someone like George Hill was more versed to be the forefront to be able to speak on it. That makes
Shout out Fred VanVleet, not only having the best lineup in the NBA, but he's been talking some cash shit every time he get in front of that mic.
Him and Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown, yeah.
Yo,
that game was
I
just
really
a day
think they
later.
was gonna boycott because I know Jaylen Brown, like he's really like, you know what I'm saying?
He's about it. He's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I think I have the highest of hopes for Jaylen Brown. I've been saying this. I remember when he chose to go to Cal. He's the number 2 player in the nation from Georgia, decides to go to Cal because he wanted to be in that environment. You know what I'm saying? That's way, way different, and learn from professors at that school that were part of the original Black movement. And he got penalized in the draft process because people said he was too smart.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, which is cool for saying that he's just an uppity you know what. You know what I'm saying? And
he's not gonna run, rebound, dunk. He's gonna say, "Oh, why do I have to do this?" You know?
Yeah,
they don't like what they don't understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what
they
we
don't
used
like
to
what
have.
you can't mold somebody like that. He's got his own mind. He's a strong brother. Like you can't make him be what you want him to be.
Yeah. And the difference between him at 22 and the Greek Freak at 25, not really speaking the language, is just completely different. Jaylen Brown, special. He's a special dude.
He's ahead of his time.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys know about Bill Bradley, who was a U.S. senator who played for the Knicks when they last won the championship. Sorry, Doc. You know what I'm saying? But they say Jaylen Brown could be the next NBA player to become a U.S. senator. That's how high.
It's tough.
So, I mean, listen, guys, this is great dialogue. I'm glad we was able to come on here and talk through our issues. No one roasted, no one yelled, no one screamed, no one swore. Everyone got to be heard. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm gonna put this out 8 a.m. tomorrow. So 8 a.m. Wednesday, special edition, guest Avery Oliver, the legend. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean,
you can see an intellectual side, not just shirt off.
On the a shot, regardless, a shot for March Madness. Mr. March Madness.
COVID crazy. I kept my shirt on all year. I ain't took it off since 2019.
no.
Intellectual age.
The guy moves to Houston and turns into Marcus Garvey on us. I'm like, all right.
I love the shirt. Man. I peeped that. I love the shirt.
Yo, one thing I want to say, man, before we wrap up, I'm so sick and tired of the media bringing up people that have a criminal past or criminal history, or they were doing this or they were doing that. Yo, it don't matter, bro. Like having a warrant, getting arrested for shoplifting or getting arrested for some other crime is not the death penalty. There shouldn't even be a death penalty in America. That's how I feel. But especially for guys like who are getting arrested for petty things, or they're selling drugs, or they had a gun when they was younger, man. People that grow up in urban environments, man, they don't have the benefit of having that solid foundation. A lot of them have to go out and get it for themselves. And that's just a fact. And some guys make mistakes along that way. And I'm so sick and tired of CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, any news outlet that brings up the fact that these men have felonies from 10 years ago, from 12 years ago. So what? Everyone grows. Everyone benefits themselves. I'm not the same person at 35 that I was at 23. So you have to give people the benefit of the doubt that they can grow. And even if they're a stone cold criminal, it's not the officer's job to play judge, jury, and executioner, man. I'm so sick and tired of that. And that's what really pisses me off and really puts me in a bad place when I read stuff like that, because Black people are put in a system where we're grinded under systematically, and then they want to hold it against you when you made one mistake in your past. And that's what I'm not going to tolerate. That's what we're not going to do, period.
Mic drop.
I echo those same sentiments.
Mic drop.
Fellas.
Absolutely.
You know the vibes, man.
Holla.
Peace, man. Man, America.
Thank you.
No doubt. Thanks for coming on, Ave.
Thank you, Abe.